What up, everybody? Welcome back. Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Hope everybody had a great time. We are here for another AMA. I hope everybody's enjoying their shrimp for breakfast. I'm getting a lot of great feedback on it. This is so fun to do. So, if y'all have any questions for your boy, put them in the comments on the latest YouTube video. I'm going to be going back and combing through and answering questions, all right? So we are still on this juicy old batch of questions from Cecily. What was her last name again? Let's say Cecily Ashford from jolly old England, all right? And we've been making our way through. Now, of course, we've got breakfast, right? Nice black cup of coffee and some nice homegrown weed from the Ghostshrimp National Forest, packed with all the nutrients that your creative life needs, right? That is really truly the gospel of Ghostshrimp. When I was a teenager, I was being, pushed into school and told what to do all the time. And, I was really cascading downwards. When I was in sophomore year, I was put for 2 weeks into a, teenage mental institution. Shortly after that summer, I broke every bone in both my feet and my wrist, jumping / falling off a cliff at the ocean. And, it wasn't till that time that I really started to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. And that coincided with starting to smoke weed every day and really focusing on my drawing and listening to the plant intelligence, right? There is plant intelligence. Weed is older than humans on this planet by a lot. And when we interface with this plant, there is information in this plant, I swear to you, and that's where I get a lot of my knowledge from. I would go so far as to say I've got more knowledge from this plant than any other source in my life, for real. I know it has a different effect on everybody, and it depends how you use it, when you use it, all that stuff, but for me, finding my habits and routines and simplifying my life down to everything funneling into my creativity and supporting that and making it easier for me to do that every day. This was the catalyst that really brought it all together for me. This was nothing else was giving me any kind of answers. This was giving me answers. And of course, it was illegal then, so we were getting a lot of grief from my parents, from school, from everything. And now it's so funny because, before my dad passed, the years before that, he was asking me for weed, and my mom's talking about, edibles now, and everybody's talking about edibles and weed now. Everybody's on that. I absolutely love it. I think that, the world is going to, now that it's back in the mainstream in a big way, because it wasn't always illegal. Humans have interfaced with this plant since the beginning of humanity. I think it's been a big part of our journey, and they've tried to a lot of the powers that be have kind of tried to put it under the rug. But don't sleep on weed, y'all. This is the secret. This is the alpha, as they would say in the crypto community. All right, Cecily Ashford, getting hyped on this Tuesday morning. She asks, let's see, where were we? Would you say using your own personal experiences and perspective in illustration is vital? Or does it depend on the field of work you go into? Cecily's really thinking about this. I like this. She's really thinking about, she's got good questions. She's getting to the nut of it. She's digging in there and she's gnawing on the bone. Right? Anybody that's heard me talk, anybody that's taken the workshop, spots available now, knows that personal experiences are everything. In my opinion, right? This is all my opinion, right? Disclaimer, I'm a dummy. Sometimes I say things that are factually inaccurate just because my brain's malfunctioning. And everything is really from my perspective. It's a very a particular perspective, but it is based on, you know, my experience and all the success I've had, right? So there's great anecdotal evidence that this can work, and especially because, you know, I didn't grow up with anything that was going to say that I was going to be an artist, right? I wasn't born into an artistic family. I wasn't born into an artistic setting or anything like that. It was really just me following my destiny, the things that were the things that wanted to be expressed in me, right? So personal mythology is what, you know, I don't know if I coined that term or if, you know, everything just comes to me and comes through me. I'm sure other people have, you know, said that in before. But personal mythology is the best way to describe it. You have a First of all, you have a deep history, right? Your DNA goes back to the beginning of time, right? The beginning of humanity, and before that, and before that, and before that. And it's a record of everything that's happened and everything that's been past you. You are made up of, you know, whatever, thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives and experiences and generations and iterations, right? In this reality alone, let alone all these other parallel realities that we're connected to, right? And you have dreams that only you have when you sleep, right? You sleep at night. You have dreams that only your brain is making. You have experiences that as you navigate the world every single day, just when you're going to the grocery store and you're talking to people and this and that, only you are experiencing the exact same thing that you're experiencing. You know, I think it's funny when people are like, did you know that every single snowflake is unique? You're like, yeah, every single thing in existence is unique. There are no two things that are the same. No two trees, no two leaves, no two people. Even identical twins have separate experiences, see things separately, right? Have separate emotions, right? Unless you're Tomax and Zaymot. Maybe they have all the same, you know, feelings and emotions. Shout out Cobra! We got to get them G.I. Joes up in the mix. But as you take the elevator down, right? When we're getting creative, we're going up, down, we're going sideways, we're going 3D, we're going everywhere at once. But I like to think of taking the elevator down into the mine shaft for another day in the creative mines, right? And you're chipping away down there. And you're unearthing memories and experiences that are completely unique to you, treasures that your subconscious has hidden away for you all throughout this infinite labyrinth, this world inside you, right? Even physically, we are made up of billions of tiny life forms. We are made up of, you know, billions or millions or however many, you know, sentient particles, right? That make up all these little forms of life in us that are form this whole ecosystem that are in here. So physically, we are an entire world. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we have all these experiences that we encounter in our lives, right? I have, like I've said, a recurring dreamscape ever since I was a child. I have dreams that, you know, I revisit. It's not ever one dream that plays over and over again. They are visiting my dream world. It's visiting the woods of Shutesbury, Massachusetts, the woods of New England that my ancestors have lived in for, you know, 400 years. It's all those memories in there. It's the subconscious interpretation of that, right? It's visiting all the places that I used to hang out. as a kid, I revisit those in my dreams periodically, right? I have a, people say that if you smoke weed, it'll make you not dream or something. I have an incredibly vivid dream life, an incredibly vivid recurring dream world, right? Just the other night, I had a dream of staying in this crazy hotel with this like infinitely deep pool, and I was down in the bottom, and I was imagining what it would feel like to drown. Like in the dream, I was like, what would it feel like to drown down here? And it was referencing this other dream. I was saying in my dream, I was like, remember that other dream that I had where I was drowning? I had this other dream that I was like that I was on the road and I was down there with Junie, and we had the flooding earlier this year, and there was like flooding going on, and there was like this water that was like draining under the road in this waterfall, and I was like, Junie, don't get too close, you'll get sucked in there. And then in the dream, I got pulled in, and it was like sand. I got pulled into quicksand underneath, and I was looking up, and it hadn't all collapsed in on me yet, but like, knowing that the water and the sand was going to come, and I thought, and I couldn't move at all. And my thoughts in the dream were, this is okay, this is how I die. I'm dying now, and poor Junie's going to watch this, right? Like some form of an anxiety dream, this just dealing with the death of my dad and mortality, and I've really been thinking a lot about that, and being the child of my father and being the father of my children, and that thing is the triangle that really makes my brain light up and be like, oh my god, that's the thing that I think about the most, is that someday I will die and my kids will have to deal with that, just the same way I'm dealing with my father's death, or passing on, we should say, because nothing ever dies, right? If you live in the woods, nothing ever dies. A tree falls down, slowly decays, gets eaten by mushrooms and moss and bugs, and it just turns into new life, right? Everything is just life eating, life eating, life eating, life eating life. That's the nature of creation. You could say destruction is the other half of it, the yin and the yang, right? It's all this perfect balance, right? So he isn't dead, right? He's transformed. His body is being turned into new life, and his spirit is continuing on, right? Nothing gets destroyed. And I can feel his spirit. But I'm dealing with this dream. And then the other night, this was like maybe a month or two ago. And then the other night I was dreaming, and I was thinking about that dream in the dream, and I was reenacting it, right? So I have this vividly interconnected dream world, right? And whenever I'm creating, that's where I'm going. I'm going back to the dream life, to the woods in Shutesbury, to childhood memories, to the way it felt to be a child, right? To also, all stages of my life. But that, when you're a child, like that expanse is so wide because you have such little experience that everything is so expansive. Right now when I'm 43 years old right now, I have so many memories, everything's condensed, and so much happens in a year, it's all condensed, and time passes in a completely different way as a grown-up. That's why I like to live in the woods, because it expands time, it slows down time, there's less going on, you're seeing less people, there's less information coming in, right? It's slower here. And it really changes time. Ask anybody that's spent a lot of time in the Ghostshrimp National Forest. Time slows down here, and that's why I like to live here. And it's my creative core, right? I could like walk in this forest and end up in the forest that I grew up in, right? It's 4 hours from here. I just went 4 hours north, right? But this feels like exactly where I grew up, and that was the goal, was to kind of not go exactly home, but go to a place that felt like that, right? But personal mythology is the core of every great art career. If you think about the artists you like, they're not copycat artists. They're not industrial artists who are just technicians, who are just repeating what's been done, who are, doing it. They're not, sitting there for the paycheck, clocking out, forgetting about it, turning it off, going back to a non-creative life, right? Those aren't the creators that you love, right? The creators that you love they stand out because they're unique. And how did they get unique? How did they get to this new territory, right? They went inside themselves, right? If everybody's trying to be unique and they look outwards. There's no way you don't get unique. You don't become unique by looking outwards. You get inspired by looking outwards. I see what Mike Mignola's doing. I see what Jesse Moynihan's doing, right? I see what all these incredible artists are doing. I see what Salvador Dali is doing. And it inspires me, but I don't want to be like them. I want to look inside myself, right? Oh, the washing machine is shaking the frame a little bit. That's my energy shaking this shit up. Shaking up the world with this creative energy, imagination. You look inside for the material because it's all unique. And paradoxically, because everything in life is a paradox, right? Creation, destruction, darkness, light, in the human world, good, bad, everything is a paradox, except the bad guys aren't all bad and the good guys aren't all good, right? Everything is a paradox. Nothing is clear cut. There's no simple answer to anything. There's no one answer to anything. Every answer just leads you to more questions, right? And as you dive into this personal mythology, and the more personal you get, the more universal it is, because we all share this creative unconscious, right? We all share a certain experience in our DNA, in this coding, in this history, right? You could take DNA and you could replicate things. All the information is there. It's the blueprints. It's the ingredients of that life form, of that iteration of life. And you have access in a way that nobody else does to all this information. And the more you tune into it, the more you pay attention to it, the better you get at, the deeper you go, first of all, right? You're continuing to dig these mine shafts. You're working, right? This is blue collar work, right? You're getting down there and you're working hard and you don't always feel like it. It's tough work. Sometimes you're coming up empty. Sometimes you're not finding anything. And that used to frustrate the fuck out of me. But I learned over time to be patient. That frustration just blocks the process, right? Frustration creates like a cave-in the mind. And you're like, fuck it. It kicks you backwards. And you're like, God damn it. Now I have to get back to where I was, right? But if you're just patient and you just sit there, right? If you're sitting there, if you're not distracted, if you're setting the table for the muse, if you're preparing to be in the flow state, eventually it's going to come. So all you have to do is prepare and be patient, right? Those are the main ingredients for success. Good night's sleep, hydration, inspiration, lack of distraction, sitting there focusing. It will come. I used to struggle with it. Now I live in the flow state. I'm almost never not in the flow state and I'll know ahead of time if I'm going to be knocked out because I, drank a bunch the night before, didn't get a good night's sleep, am very stressed, have a emergency situation involving unraveling right now. Certain things will block the creative flow state, but it's very easy now for me to figure out. It's all in the preparation, and it's all in just embedding yourself in the process and not taking yourself out of it, right? Not being unprepared and not removing yourself from the process. It's guaranteed that you're going to be in the flow state. But paradoxically, the more personal you make your work, the more universal it will be, the more it will hit other people on that personal level. Because even if they don't relate to exactly what you are referencing, exactly what you've been through, exactly the information that you're putting in there, it rings true in a different way because it's so personal, it's vulnerable, it's unique, it's specific. Everybody has that equivalent within them. Everybody has a version of insecurity, a version of success, a version of failure, a version of surprise, a version of embarrassment, a version of discovery, a version of their favorite things, their least favorite things, and everybody's so used to seeing the common and the ubiquitous, and we're bombarded all the time where when one thing works, when something unique resonates, there's a million copycats that come along, right? Copycats are a dime a dozen, right? But that original unique kernel that unique discovery, that unique breakthrough that is the whole point of that creative excavation, that creative mining, that looking for the unknown, the fun discovery, the treasure, the creative gem, the creative jewel, right? When you find it and you share it, it is a thing of beauty. It is a thing of awe. It is a great act, right? It is, as I've been listening to the Rick Rubin book and the Rick Rubin podcast, and man, that guy is just tuned into the same creative wavelength as I am. It's a devotional act, right? When I talk about doing this for the art gods, right? You do it for your childhood self and you do it for the art gods. You do it as a devotional act. There's nothing higher than that, to serve your inner self, and by doing so, serve the creative gods. It's a paradox. By serving your most personal self, you also give glory to the creative gods who created you to do just that, right? We need a certain amount of just busy work, technical work, copycat work to make the world go around, right? That's obviously part of the plan. I'm actually a believer that things are exactly how they're meant to be, and it's just beyond our comprehension to wrap our heads around it. So to just give in to the not knowing, to accept that there is never an answer, there's only more questions, right? To let go and just say, my job here, my career here, my purpose here, right? My purpose as a creative animal in an infinite universe, as an infinite animal, a creative universe, is to explore my unique mythology, to express my unique creative vision to the world. And by doing so, I am giving all glory to the creative gods, right? That is what they have put me here to do, right? So personal mythology is absolutely everything. There is nothing, even in my opinion, worth pursuing, worth expressing, right? And any job that comes along, I can do. If someone says, here's a job, do your thing on it, there's absolutely no job I can't do, right? Even the jobs that I failed at, it was either because I wasn't allowed to do what I wanted to do, or at that point I was off my path. I was trying to do something that really wasn't what I wanted to do, right? I was a little bit confused in my pursuit, right? You always are doing experiments, and some things works and some things don't, but sometimes you're motivated by the wrong reasons, right? And sometimes if you're too over eager, or sometimes if you're just stretching and you're just trying to accomplish something that you're just not there yet, right? Or you're just going down a path and it fails, and you go like, okay, I thought I wanted to do this. I realize now that I didn't, so let me backtrack and go back to the point where I did know what I wanted and keep going from there, right? Let's see. And she said, okay, how were you able to get noticed by potential clients, and do you recommend a specific approach to advertising yourself? I got noticed because of my uniqueness, right? And I got noticed because I was promoting, right? I always had a website. I was using the whatever form of social media was available there at the time. At that time it was MySpace was just coming out, and then shortly afterwards, Facebook opened up to everybody. It started out as like just a college thing. And I was out of college at that point. I think, I'm trying to remember. The time frames sometimes get in different slots in my brain. But yeah, it's easier than ever to get your work out there. There's so many, like we said, set up a profile, set up this, do Behance, do Instagram, do Twitter, do this, X, job, whatever the new thing is, TikTok. I think it's always good to have your own website, and you got to promote. I'm doing these videos right now to promote, right? I love promoting, but I do love just sitting at my desk and like getting lost better. So like a lot of times I can go long periods without promoting, but If you can find a fun, organic, motivating way to promote every day, if you're just starting out, you definitely have to promote. At least you have to be putting up something every week, new work, behind the scenes videos, work in progress videos, skits, slice of life videos, really anything. People love to see something behind the artist. And that's really why I got into this idea of creating the persona, of creating the identity, of cranking my personality up to 420 degrees in order to get people's attention, rather than just being like, I'm another guy and hear me talk about my work. I wanted to be a showman, right? It's definitely plays to my strengths. I was always a loud, rowdy clown in school, and it always got me in trouble. All the things that got me in trouble in school have excelled me forward in life, right? Again, paradoxically, right? It made me stand out from the pack in school in a bad way, because the whole point of school is to get you to be in the pack, right? They don't ever want anybody to stand out. They only want you to stand in, right? Stand in line, be quiet. If you're out of line and loud, you get in trouble, right? But those are the things that set me apart from the pack. And in real life, in not the institutional setting, that's where you excel, right? Whoever started that company, they did it by making noise. They didn't get it by being quiet. No leader sits there and fits in with the pack and is quiet, because no one will follow them, right? You have to find a way in order to pop your head above the crowd, right? You have to find a way to capture people's imagination. And I did that with creating the Ghostshrimp persona and talking about, I said we are a group of people. We live on Ghostshrimp Island. I made up all these fantastical stories about it. I've always taken the approach that your promotion should be just as creative as your work itself. There's a saying, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise, right? If you don't advertise, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're never going to get noticed, so nobody's ever going to know to hire you, right? And I always think it's not the first time people see my work. It's not the second time people see my work. It's not the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. The more they see your work, they go, oh, there's that guy again. Oh, that's cool. Who's that? Oh, it's that guy again. Who's that? Who's that guy? Oh, wait, who is that? Ghostshrimp? What the fuck is that? We got to look that up. Ghostshrimp. Oh, look at this. He's got a lot of other great work. Keep that in mind. Okay. Oh, there it is again. There it is again. Hey, now I've got the perfect project. This guy's the perfect guy. Let's get him, right? Ghostshrimp. We need some Ghostshrimp. Ghostshrimp here, reporting for duty, right? You have to be unique to stand out, and you have to let people know. You have to advertise. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to practice it to get better at it, right? I wasn't always as good as it. Doing the podcast and doing the workshop made it so now I can just turn it on a dime. I can sit down, I can turn on the camera, and I can go, right? I wasn't always able to do that, right? There was a time that I would have been self-conscious and like, and wouldn't have been able to do it. And part of the workshop, I always make people make videos, and everybody is so uncomfortable making videos of themselves. But even if it's not you on camera, you have to find a way to promote, right? That is the way you get work. Your work, doing outstanding work, doing your best job, doing the best job you're capable of, working at the edge of your abilities all the time is going to advertise your work, because your work's going to go out there and it's going to keep getting circulated, and that's the best advertisement for your work. But also, if you can show people who you are as an artist and be an interesting person, again, that comes back to the idea of living a unique lifestyle, being an interesting person, right? Not being like everybody else, right? I'm like, if I'm a unique individual, that's going to just be another way that people are interested in what I'm doing, and that's going to allow me to do it better, right? If you're sitting alone in the dark, no one's going to want to like, why are they going to want to participate in that, right? People want to be a part of something. What's a brand? It's like you want to be a part of that. I wear this Celtics hat because I want to be a part of the Celtics, right? I love the Celtics, right? People wear a brand because they want to be part of that, right? So I don't think it matters what line of work you go in. I don't think it matters if you're a painter, if you're a carpenter. I think you should always express yourself, and you should always You should express yourself in your work and your advertising, always, right? It's going to make you happier. It's going to build your character. It's going to build your powers. And it's going to make you stand out. And it's going to make you connect with the right jobs. The right fit is everything. Nothing else matters, right? Success on someone else's terms is not success, all right? Now, we're going to cap it off there today. We're going to keep going AMAs every work day. I love starting my work day like this. So let's keep doing it. Check out GhostShrimpGlobal.com. Sign up for the Ghost Shrimp Classic Workshop. Pick up a copy of The Lost Forest, right? Pre-order this, coming out 4/20. And follow me on my trip to the Grammys February 4th. We going, baby. And we gonna have the time of our motherfucking lives. There you go. Let's get it this week, y'all.